And we are live. All right, everyone, welcome back to my channel, Baseball Talk with Nick Morgan. Welcome to episode 7 of our Who is Better player comparison series. I feel like I just started this yesterday with Garrett Cole, Jacob deGrom at the starting pitching position, and that was a fun one. It was a really good way to start off the series. We are comparing the starting position players in New York baseball getting into the 2021 regular season. Starting pitching, relief pitching. We got our catchers, first baseman, second baseman, shortstops, and now third baseman here with Gio Urshela and JD Davis. This is episode 7. Welcome to Who is Better player comparisons. Now, we do have some comments in the chat. Thank you to everyone joining me here today, whether live or once the stream has come to an end. Gio not even close. Davis's defense not good. Well, I'm going to have to either agree or disagree with you. They're going to wait till the end of the episode where I give you a better stance on my behalf who I think is better, but you are definitely on to something right there. Gio Urshela, JD Davis, episode 7 of Who is Better player comparison. They are closing out the infield. Now, this isn't necessarily the two biggest names in New York baseball. You think about some of the big players on both organizations, a part of both organizations, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Gary Sanchez for the Yankees. Those are your big names position-wise. Garrett Cole, of course, on the mound. For the New York Mets, you got Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Dom Smith, Michael Conforto. Now you got Francisco Lindor, and they're pitching, their star in the rotation is Jacob deGrom. Urshela and Davis both came over from different organizations and weren't expected to produce to the extent that they have over the course of their respective tenures with the Yankees and Mets. Urshela came over from the Cleveland Indians with Clint Frazier, and both of them have turned out to be really good for the New York Yankees. JD Davis was acquired via a trade with the Houston Astros, and he has been their starting third baseman ever since joining the team. So these are our two guys. Let's go ahead, premise their backgrounds a little bit, give you guys a little more information on these two third basemen that we're dealing with here in episode 7. We do have a comment in the chat. Carlos Carrasco out. Braves got the division. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays an impact on the New York Mets. Stay tuned on the channel, guys. Within the next few days, we will have my 2021 standings predictions video out, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Carlos Carrasco might make or break my NL East division. So go ahead, be ready to watch that, turn on your post notifications. But without getting too far off track here, let's go ahead, bring it back in. Look at these third basemen, starting with Gio Urshela. Yankees fans love this guy. He is 29 years old, made his debut back in 2015, and, with the New York Yankees, he has done some great things, and we're going to go ahead and dive into his stats, especially with New York. He's just been such an incredible piece offensively and defensively. He's got it all, okay? Now, if we go ahead and look at JD Davis of the New York Mets, formerly of the Houston Astros, he was actually drafted by Houston in 2014, the third round, and selected 75th overall. He made his MLB debut on August 5th, 2017. He's 27 years old. So we have two right-handed third basemen, both under the age of 30, and that's who we're comparing here in episode 7. We're going to dive into the numbers right now. And for those of you who are not familiar with the series, what we go ahead and do is I look at 3 different spans of statistics. So usually 2017 to 2019, but in this case, we're going to start off just with the single 2019 season because Urshela's with the Yankees, JD Davis was with the Mets. So we're going to break down those 162 games and look at their numbers from 2019 alone. Then we'll look at 2020, what they were able to accomplish in the abbreviated 60-game season, and then finally we'll close things out with the Baseball Reference 2021 projections, and that's when I will go ahead and say who I think the best third baseman in New York is heading into this regular season. So boom, in 2019, let's go ahead and take a look at Gio Urshela versus J.D. Davis. Now, Gio of the New York Yankees played 132 games. He had 442 hits. 442 at-bats. If he had 442 hits, he would have been MVP over and over again. He would not have lost a single vote. But 442 at-bats, 139 hits, and that was good for a overwhelmingly high 314 batting average. Good for Gio Urshela. I do not think the Cleveland Indians were expecting him to put up those sort of numbers when they traded him to New York alongside Clint Frazier. But hey, Yankees fans loved it then, and we still love it now with the type of production he's putting up numbers-wise. So 132 games, 442 at-bats, and a 314 batting average. J.D. Davis in 2019 played in 8 more games, but got 32 less at-bats. So more games, less at-bats. He's going to have 13 less hits, and a batting average that is still very good, north of that 300 mark at 307, but not quite enough to beat out his New York Yankees counterpart in Urshela, a 314 average to a 307 average. Categories there, all being at-bats, hits, and batting average. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look. If you've watched any of the previous episodes here in the series, you know that for runs, doubles, triples, and stolen bases, those categories aren't necessarily huge when it comes down to comparing players. You can't pick out, okay, well, Gio Urshela had more doubles. He's the clear favorite for best third baseman in New York baseball. That's not a big deal, but just for the sake of the video, for the sake of having all these stats out, I have included some of those categories that don't mean as much. We're going to dive into some of them now here. 73 runs scored for Gio Urshela. Of course, that's great. That means he's getting a lot of production in for the New York Yankees. He's getting on base, and the rest of that New York lineup is being able to bring him in, and he's scoring runs. But that is not necessarily a direct result of how good he is. He's getting on base, but the rest of the lineup is doing their job and bringing him in and having him score. Same thing goes for J.D. Davis. 65 runs. It is going to be less than the New York Yankees third baseman, but at the same time, you can't really judge runs based on how good a player is. Hello to everyone in the chat. Thank you all for joining me here today, Thursday evening. We are nearing the end of March. April's right around the corner. Opening day is almost here. A lot of fun. We're comparing New York baseball players. Hello to everyone in the chat. Gotta go Gio Urshela. Well, yeah, you're gonna hear my completed thoughts who I think the best third baseman is towards the end, but you guys are all onto something here. You all pretty much know what's going on. Thank you to everyone in the chat, in the stream right now. I appreciate it. So back to runs here, 73 runs for Gio Urshela, 65 for J.D. Davis. Yes, Urshela wins that category, but again, it doesn't mean all too much. Doubles-wise, and this is big for, slugging on base percentage, Gio Urshela was able to tack on 34 doubles in the 2019 season. So a big extra base hit guy there. Add on to those 21 home runs. Did not get any triples, but 21 home runs, 34 doubles. Really good numbers. For J.D. Davis, though, and the New York Mets, he finally starts to pick up some categories. 22 doubles, so not as much as Gio, but 1 triple. Again, it doesn't mean a whole lot for the sake of comparing, but just fun statistics out here. 1 triple for J.D. Davis, so he wins that category, and 1 extra home run, so 32 less at-bats. And he was able to hit more home runs. J.D. Davis, out of the two, I will tell you right now, is considered to be the power hitter. Gio Urshela, yeah, he can hit for power, but he is not known for 30-plus home runs a season. He's not going to do that. He's not the type of guy. Even J.D. Davis, he's got power, but he's not going to be leading the team in home runs. That's going to be your Michael Conforto, your Pete Alonso. I think Dom Smith, if he gets a full season in, should be able to hit for quite some power. Francisco Lindor is going to be able to muscle some out. But J.D. Davis, not a huge power guy, does walk away with an extra triple and home run, so he wins those 2 categories, putting his total at 3. Now, runs batted in. Runs wasn't a huge difference maker when it comes to these comparisons, but RBIs is, because that means you are bringing guys in from the bases. Of course, you're scoring more runs for your team, helping them win overall, or at least try to come back. 74 RBIs for Gio Urshela. That leads out of the 2 New York Yankees third basemen. J.D. Davis still had a pretty significant number here at 57, just 17 less than the man in pinstripes, so it's not going to be enough to get him that categorical win. Looking at stolen bases, neither of these guys are known to steal. I know the Yankees don't like to steal all too much. I watched them a lot more. The New York Mets, they'll try to run a little bit here and there. J.D. Davis gets the 3 stolen bases over the course of those 140 games, walks away with that category 3-1. Then you look at walks, and now walks is actually relatively important when it comes to on-base percentage, because being able to draw a ball 4, make it to first base, that's helping your numbers go up a little bit. On-base percentage, hand in hand, directly impacts OPS. So if your on-base percentage is higher and your slugging is good, your OPS is also going to rise quite a bit. Urshela had 25 walks and 442 at-bats. And for JD Davis, he was able to walk 38 times in 410 ABs, so he does go ahead and win that category. We look at strikeout numbers. Less is more in this category if you're a hitter. 87 for Gio, 97 for JD. Gio walks away with it yet again. So obviously Urshela here does seem to be leading in a lot of the categories, and that is going to pretty much maintain and stay that way throughout the rest of this video. But if we look at on-base slugging OPS, JD takes 2 out of 3. On-base percentage, OPS were both higher. A 369 on base, 527 slugging, 895 OPS. Now, Gio Urshela, his numbers were still pretty good. His OPS was 889, so very similar to Davis, just not quite high enough to at least tie. He's going to lose that category. A 534 slugging puts him over the top for New York starting third basemen. He does go ahead and win that one. And a 355 on base. Not quite enough to beat out JD. Both guys put up a really good stat line in the 2019 season. 132 games for the Yankees. Third baseman, 140 for the New York Mets. But I do have to go ahead and say that out of these two, the best third baseman in 2019 New York baseball was Gio Urshela. More at-bats, more hits, a higher average. You're getting more production out of him. Similar home runs, more RBIs, higher slugging. The OPS was so similar that, yeah, it technically went to JD Davis, but if you look at the remaining categories that Gio Urshela led, that OPS being .006 lower, kind of just goes to Gio Urshela by default because it was so close, so similar in quite some more games. So I'd say Gio Urshela, best third baseman in 2019, especially if you're looking at defense. Now, for the sake of this, we're not looking at the glove metrics. You're not looking at what they're doing on the field, how many errors they're committing each season. Strictly based off of what they can produce at the plate, Urshela does look to be the best looking at the eye test. And then defensively, same thing goes. I know for a fact Gio Urshela is a better defender than JD Davis. I mean, the plays he can make, you look at his highlight reels and some of the things, like the balls he could track down either to his left or right, the range he has, the arm strength, it's incredible. Gio Urshela, definitely the better defensive third baseman out of the two for sure. And out of 2019, he is going to be better than JD Davis. So with 2019 under the belt here, let's go ahead and take a look at the abbreviated 2020 season. A weird 60-game span as a result of COVID-19. A lot of guys were kind of in a funk. They got off to a bad start, and it was really hard to pick things back up and get on the right track afterwards. But luckily for both Urshela and Davis, they were able to scrap together pretty good seasons. Now, Gio Urshela did have a better 60-game span. JD's numbers were down quite a bit, but definitely not the worst, especially when you look at, former MVPs and big-name players like Christian Yelich, who really struggled. Gary Sanchez, Gleyber Torres. Not saying that Sanchez or Torres were MVPs, but just big-name players who usually do get a lot of positive outputs at the plate. So really weird season and a weird span to compare, but we are going to go ahead and look at the numbers nonetheless, because before we go ahead and look at 2021, we're looking at 2019 and 2020. So for last season, the 60-game stretch, 43 games for Gio Urshela. He did miss some time. It's 13 games less than JD Davis, and because a huge game differential, he's going to have a lot less at-bats. Not a lot less, but 40 less at-bats is a pretty significant margin. But he only had 2 less hits, 40 less at-bats, 2 less hits. Gio Urshela with the 298 batting average when things were all said and done at the end of 2020. JD Davis, 56 games, 198 Bs, 47 hits, and a 247 average. Not bad. Not bad in any way, shape, or form. The average, of course, could be higher. It's been higher for him typically. But again, really weird 60-game season. So the only category that Urshela takes right there is going to be batting average. The first 3 go to JD Davis. And if you're trying to tell by the graphic, if it's underlined and italicized, that means that certain player leads those categories. Looking at the chat here, I'll say JD Davis is good at hitting. Apo Taco, otherwise that's all. Hoping he can improve his defense, especially with that deep mechanic legwork. Yeah, I mean, We mentioned this a little bit in the 2019 categories we were going through. I did say that JD Davis is typically going to be the power third baseman out of the two. He's not necessarily going to hit 30 plus, at least in an average season, a regular season for him. But he can get out those home runs. He can pump them out a little bit more, I think, than Gio Urshela. He's more of that power hitter. Other than that, he can have a pretty decent batting average. He'll get on base here and there. Slugging's not terrible. He's a pretty average third baseman, I would say. The defense definitely has to be a little bit better, especially if he wants to be heavily considered when it comes to Gio Urshela, JD Davis, and these comparisons. But I do think that JD Davis still being the starting third baseman for the New York Mets is nothing to be extremely concerned about. I like that third baseman. I think if anything, it might be one of your weaker positions, but you still have a somewhat strong player filling in this hole, even if you want to call it a hole in the lineup. I think he's going to put up good numbers. He's not pressured this season by any means. You have so many superstars in front and behind him in the lineup with Francisco Lindor, Michael Conforto, Pete Alonso, Dom Smith, Jeff McNeil. He's not being relied upon to go ahead and bring in all the runs, hit the home runs, bring guys in on the bases when he's up. Of course, you're going to want that from him, but he does not have to be the top producer on the team, and I think that's going to help him out. Less pressure, the higher he does, and the better he does, I think, at the plate. Love these vids. Thank you so much. I'm back. JD Davis is a beast in your opinion. He just needs to get better at defense. Definitely. Welcome back, by the way, and welcome to everyone in the stream. Thank you for taking time here this Thursday night to watch me talk about Gio Urshela, JD Davis, and compare these guys heading into the upcoming season. I appreciate you all. You mean so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But yeah, we were just talking about it. Davis is good offensively. He's going to be a good third baseman for you. Defensively is where Mets fans kind of start to look and see, well, maybe we could use some improvements here and there, but offensively, he will be good enough where you don't need any immediate enhancements at the hot corner. So back to these 2020 stat comparisons here. If we're looking at it, batting average went to Gio Urshela. JD Davis got a lot more playing time in the 60-game stretch. And Davis also scored 2 more times than Gio, 24-26 for the Yankees and Mets respectively. Just another quick reminder here that runs, doubles, and triples really don't play a huge factor for me when I'm comparing these guys. So yeah, more runs in more games, in more at-bats, but we're not going to look at that all too much. When it comes to extra base hits, Gio Urshela had 11 doubles for JD Davis's 9, and they both tied with 0 triples. Now, triples for these third basemen, they're not speedy guys. If they get one in the gap, they're probably just going to stay at second because it's safer that way for them. You don't want to risk any out at third base, let alone the first or the last. So, 11 doubles and 9 doubles for the Yankees and Mets third baseman, and then 0 triples across the board. They actually both tied with 6 home runs in the 2020 season as well. 43 games for Gio, 56 for JD Davis. If you prorate that, technically, if they were going to be on that same pace over the course of a 162-game season, Urshela would have ended up with more, having the same amount of home runs in less games and in less at-bats, but we're not prorating it, and at the end of the day, they are tied in this home run category. Taking a look at runs batted in, for the second straight season, Gio Urshela is going to lead this category. In 2019, he led, but I think it was 17 or 14 runs batted in. This time, he leads by 11, 30 RBIs for the New York Yankees. Third baseman, Gio Urshela, and 19 for JD Davis. Still good numbers. Again, it's a 60-game season, so Davis was averaging almost 1 RBI in every 3 games, and because he played less than 60 games, he was averaging just about that, if not a little bit more. Still good numbers for both of these guys. And then stolen bases. Stolen bases, again, we're not looking at this all too much. Just this is mostly for you guys watching. So you guys can have the graphics, you guys can look at the stats, and so you can hear stolen bases. I just kind of thought I'd throw in with doubles and triples. It doesn't mean all too much, but if you guys want to be looking at the stats a whole lot, I know personally, I love diving into stats, so I thought you guys would enjoy that as well. Then we look to walks and strikeouts. Gio Urshela had 18 walks in his 151 at-bats, compared to JD Davis having 31 in his 190 ABs. Now, more walks, the better. So, of course, 31 ball for first base appearances for JD Davis is going to go ahead and give him the easy win in this category. Those 13 walks are really going to go ahead and help out his on-base percentage a bit, and we'll see that actually does matter in just a few moments. 25 strikeouts for Gio Urshela, and now here's another big difference. Urshela's whiff rate, just basing off the strikeout numbers, is going to be a little bit lower. He's not going to swing and miss at a whole lot, at least with 2 strikes on him. 25 strikeouts in 13 less games, where JD Davis had 25, and then another 25, and then another 6. So 56 strikeouts in those 190 at-bats. We're going to have to see how things go there in 2021. We'll look at the projections, but this is a clear win for Gio Urshela, striking out less, also again in less at-bats. Now we look at the on-base percentage, and JD Davis walked significantly more than his New York Yankees counterpart, and that's going to help him here because he wins the on-base percentage category, not by much, but he wins it. A 368 on base for Gio, 371 for JD, and then that is the last category that Davis will win in 2020. We then hand it over to Urshela, and he's going to lead in slugging, OPS, OPS plus, and WAR. Taking a look at slugging right here. Slugging is going to be pretty much extra base hits, your doubles, your triples, your home runs. And it's a 490 slug for Gio Urshela. So that means he's getting extra base hits quite often. JD Davis, a 389, still pretty decent, around average, I would think, off the top of my head. Just not nearly enough. Almost a .100 differential in this decimal when it comes to slugging percentage. OPS, again, a very big difference in Gio Urshela and JD Davis. It's an 8, we're looking at slugging here. 490 slugging for Gio, just south of 500, and Davis was just a bit lower than 400. So Urshela was getting on base. He was hitting extra base hits a little bit more. OPS stands for on base plus slugging. And with OPS, it goes directly hand in hand with that OPS plus category you see close to the bottom of your screen. OPS plus determines if you are above or below average for this particular stat. So if you are higher than the 100s in OPS plus, that means you're above the league average, doing better than the majority of guys in Major League Baseball at the time. And if you're below 100 OPS, you are just a little bit lower than league average, unless you're at like a 20 OPS plus. Then you're really not looking too great when it comes to this single category. A 136 OPS plus for Gio Urshela means he was 36% better than the rest of the league, and 112 for JD Davis, he was 12% better. So a pretty considerable difference here. 36% better to 12% better. We're going to give it to Gio Urshela with ease. And WAR. Finally, to close out 2020, we're looking at WAR, wins above replacement. A lot of people, like big stat heads and guys who look at the numbers and they really do these comparisons like full-fledged. WAR is not a widely accepted metric. We're going to go with that. Wins above replacement is controversial just in the sense where some people love using WAR to fight for their case, and others think it's just ridiculous. Wins above replacement. The higher WAR you have, the more productive and the more impact you had for your designated team or teams if you're traded over the course of a season. So if you are replaced, Gio Urshela, when he was in the lineup as compared to when he was out of the lineup, the Yankees were getting over 2 more wins. Okay, so his WAR, 2.1, was fairly high in a 60-game season. I mean, nothing too crazy. I don't know what the largest WAR was for a single player last year, but a 2.1 WAR, he made a huge impact on the New York Yankees. They were winning more games with him in the lineup. JD Davis, his wins above replacement fell at 0.1. So really not a huge difference. The Mets were equally as good with or without him, and Urshela's WAR being higher means that he was a better player, just all around. At least that's what pro WAR or pro wins above replacement, I should say, stat heads would argue. So WAR, take it as you will. I'm on the fence. I can go either way. I like WAR. I don't like WAR. Like, it doesn't matter a whole lot to me. If we do look at it, though, analytically, Gio Urshela had the higher WAR, and with everything else in the 2020 season, he was the better third baseman. We look at it again. When JD Davis is supposed to be hitting more home runs, you think he's supposed to be hitting more home runs, and they end up tying when JD had more games and at-bats. Urshela, if that's his weakness out of the major categories, hitting homers, he still did fairly well. 30 RBIs, he led by a landslide. His on base was super close to JD's, not a huge difference right there. So when you compare that and you take into account that his slugging, OPS, OPS plus, WAR, and batting average was all higher, you have to give it to Gio yet again. And that is all without saying the defense and taking in that aspect of the game. Gio's defensive capabilities are incredible and a lot greater than JD Davis. He does not have the best glove over at the hot corner. We've talked about it already. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with that. JD Davis, not known for his defense. Gio Urshela, on the other hand, is known for being a great all-around player. I think Urshela all-around is a better player, but if Davis could work on defense, he has a chance at being better than Gio. Yeah, I agree with that comment from the chat. I do think that if his defense got a little bit better, JD Davis could easily be a little more in this conversation. It's been quite lopsided in 2019, 2020. You kind of see Gio running away with a lot of these categories. Then you look at the defense, and just really his overall play, it's not terrible. He's an average third baseman. I like JD Davis. We said it already. The Mets don't have to be concerned with him being their primary third baseman right now. If they could get someone else, maybe go for it. But JD Davis will still go ahead and be very competent, more than competent, when it comes to this position. He's going to be able to get the job done offensively and defensively. He's going to have his good days. He's going to have his bad days, but so will every other player in Major League Baseball. So 2019, 2020, these 2 years well behind us at this point, and it looks like Gio Urshela seems to be the best third baseman so far. Will 2021 change that with Baseball Reference projections? We're going to go ahead and take a look. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with how I go ahead and run this series, if it's your first time watching or first time making it this far into an episode, we look at the 2021 projections by a website called Baseball Reference. Now, me personally, I've said it a few times also in this episode, I love digging into stats, looking at the numbers, seeing how valuable a player really is, and what they were able to accomplish in a given season or their career. Baseball Reference has it all. They have anything you can imagine, at the plate, defensively. They've got a bunch of metrics and stuff that I don't even know exist. It's a lot of fun going on to Baseball Reference, just being able to explore, and that's where I'm getting all my stats from, all my info from for these series, and these projections are crucial because we're trying to compare who the best third baseman is going into this upcoming season. And because it hasn't taken place yet, these projections by Baseball Reference are a huge, huge help. Now, going back to this Baseball Reference, what they do, of course, they collect stats, and also prior to any given season, they project a player's finalized numbers at the end of the year. So they're not necessarily going to be dead on accurate, but that's why we have this first metric at the top of the graphics right now, and that is percent reliability. The higher percent reliability, the more confident Baseball Reference is that these numbers will closely represent the actual production for these guys. So Gio Urshela with the 71% reliability rate, that essentially means Baseball Reference is 71% confident these numbers can be close to what he actually does. Not close enough where they're like, okay, 90, 85%, right? But they still are going to be, to an extent, relatively in the same ballpark. JD Davis's percent reliability is a little bit higher at 73, so that just means that Baseball Reference feels a little better with the numbers they're putting out there for him than they do Gio Urshela. How do they get these numbers? Well, based on career averages and recent trends over the course of the past few seasons. I don't know what their algorithms look like and how they figure that stuff out, but they do, and these are the numbers they produced for Gio Urshela and JD Davis. So with a 71% reliability rate, Baseball Reference has Gio Urshela getting 435 at-bats, tallying 123 hits, and a 283 batting average. On the flip side of things, JD Davis here, 487 at bats. So we're going to see him get some more playing time like we did in 2020. He's getting 5 more hits, okay, and 52 more at bats. So, yeah, he's getting more playing time, but they are very similar when it comes to actual hits over the course of the season. And because of that, because it's only a 5-hit difference in 50 at-bat difference, Gio Urshela does end up with the higher batting average projected at the end of 2021, sitting at 283. JD Davis for the New York Mets, 263. So again, Urshela for the 3rd season in a row will go ahead and take the batting average statistic and category. JD getting the first 2. You look at runs scored, you already know my feelings on runs when it comes to comparing these guys. 69 for the New York Yankees third baseman, 71 for the New York Mets. So yes, JD Davis technically has more, but how much does that factor into him actually being better than Gio Urshela, if at all? They're looking at doubles now, and the other extra base hit categories: doubles, triples, homers. Gio Urshela is going to get more doubles, leg out some more 2-base hits, 28 to 23, but this time, so again, it doesn't look like Gio Urshela is much of a triple hitter. He's projected to get 0 here, which is fine. As a Yankees fan, I could care less the amount of triples he hits, right? 0 triples in 2021 projected for Urshela, and Davis is projected to have 1 triple, so 1 more 3-base hit as well as 1 more home run, 20 home runs to 19 home runs. The Mets take that category, and again, I do want to point out that yes, he does lead that category, but there is a 50 at-bat difference, 52 at-bats to be exact. So in 52 extra at-bats, JD Davis is only projected to have 1 more home run. So that's interesting, because we think JD Davis is the better power hitter. We saw them tying home runs last year in 2020. So maybe not. Maybe that is not necessarily the case. And then RBIs. This is a category and a specific stat that Gio Urshela has consistently won, and by quite the margin. 71 Rbis compared to 64 Davis. So Gio will go ahead and take that. They're supposed to tie with 3 stolen bases. I think this is just a fun little category here that we're looking at, because stolen bases don't matter all too much, but if we're going to compare them, they're supposed to projected have the same amount of stolen bases come October. And walks. JD Davis will walk 20 more times according to Baseball Reference and their algorithms in the upcoming season. Gio Urshela on the flip side is going to strike out a handful less. Okay, 35 less punch-outs for Gio Urshela as a hitter. His on-base percentage will be a little bit lower, 342 to 348, a .006 difference. Even with the on-base being lower, the slugging and on-base plus slugging, also known as OPS, will be better for Gio Urshela, 478 and 820, as compared to 437 and 786. So wow, a little bit more to dissect here in the 2021 projections. Okay, JD Davis, again, we're going to see him get more playing time over at third. So more at-bats, more hits, a lower average. And the categories he leads, if we really look, he doesn't lead in hits by much. He doesn't lead in runs. Again, we're not really counting runs, but he doesn't lead in runs by all too much. Same thing with homers. Walks. He clearly and easily wins that walks category. If these numbers are going to be anywhere close to resembling what actually happens, JD Davis easily leads walks. But everything else, runs, home runs, even on base percentage, very similar stats. And for Gio Urshela, for those to be the ones that he loses, I'm okay with that. He has the better average, the better slugging, OPS. He's still going to hit for power. And production-wise, he's going to bring in some more runs on the bases when he's at the plate. And I think that's huge. Gio Urshela, we had a bunch of people say in the chat throughout the course of the stream, is going to be the best third baseman in New York heading into the 2021 regular season. That's with offense. Defensively, obviously, there's no conversation, no debate. Gio Urshela, 10 times out of 10, is the better defender. You just look at some of his playoff plays from October in 2020. Insane. I know there were a few tremendous plays against Cleveland in the regular season too. He's all over the place. He is just incredible with the glove. He's a wizard defensively at the hot corner. JD Davis, maybe not so much, right? So Urshela, he's going to take away a lot of the big categories. I think he is the best third baseman in New York baseball. A lot of people in chat seem to agree with me. That is the popular decision here, and I think that is the accurate call. Gio Urshela, the best third baseman in New York, heading into this 2021 regular season. So, that was a lot of fun. Episode 7 of our Who Is Better player comparison series. We got to look at the third basemen today. Offensive metrics only for the most part. Gio Urshela and JD Davis for the Yankees and Mets respectively. Episode 7 is done and in the books. Thank you all for tuning in. After looking at 2019, 2020, and 2021 numbers, we have come to the conclusion that JD Davis is not the best third baseman in New York. It is going to go to Gio Urshela, but both of these guys, no matter what the projections look like in 2021, I think are capable of exceeding those numbers. I mean, Urshela, for example, a 283 average. If I'm being completely honest, at least as a Yankees fan, I think and I hope he blows right past that. It's in the 290s, high 290s, maybe even low 300s. He's done it with us before. I wouldn't be surprised if he does it again. These are projections for a reason. The percent reliability is low for a reason because it is kind of hard to tell with these two players. But Gio Urshela and JD Davis made up episode 7 of our Who Is Better player comparison series. This was a lot of fun. I like this nice little conversation with everyone in the chat. Thank you all for being active and supportive of the channel as always. But guys, that's going to go ahead here and end it for the live stream. Gio Urshela, the best New York third baseman in Major League Baseball, heading into the start of the 2021 regular season. Guys, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to drop a like down below, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Go ahead and join the team as we gear up for opening day. Now, we are going to have some more positions to talk about here in this series. We're going to the outfield next, so make sure to have your notifications turned on for my channel so you are made aware of anytime I start a live stream or upload a video. Guys, that's going to end it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Peace.